Hello everyone, welcome to DisasterScope, the disaster documentary channel. In the vast southern territory of China, Guangdong, a land long known for its prosperity and vibrancy, has recently been struck by an unprecedented torrential flood disaster. This torrential rainstorm, like a beast unleashed from its cage, carried the boundless fury of nature. It rampaged and roared across the land, shattering the peace and prosperity of the past in an instant. In the face of such a disaster, we must learn how to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Backhand index pointing right. Please hit the subscribe button to stay updated on the real and latest developments in China. Speech balloon, feel free to leave a comment and join the discussion below. The formation of this catastrophic flood in Guangdong is the result of multiple factors working together. From a natural perspective, under the broader backdrop of global climate change, extreme weather events are becoming increasingly frequent. This year, under the influence of unusual monsoon circulations, warm and moist air currents have become exceptionally strong, like a massive conveyor belt of water vapor, continuously channeling moisture from the Pacific Ocean into the Guangdong region. At the same time, cold air masses occasionally pushed southward, clashing violently with the warm, moist air above Guangdong, triggering intense convective activity. This fierce collision between cold and warm air provided powerful dynamic conditions for heavy rainfall, resulting in extremely intense downpours that accumulated astonishing amounts of rain in a very short time. From a geographical standpoint, Guangdong lies in a subtropical monsoon climate zone, with a complex and varied terrain of mountains, hills, and plains interwoven throughout the region. This terrain enhances rainfall intensity by forcing upward movement of air as it flows across mountainous areas. Especially in mountainous areas where the terrain is steep and river gradients are large, heavy rains can cause water levels to rise rapidly, triggering sudden and destructive flash floods. Additionally, Guangdong has an extensive river network. The Pearl River, the largest river in southern China, has a vast drainage basin with numerous tributaries. When torrential rains pour down, water levels in these rivers surge dramatically. The tributaries push against one another, hindering drainage and causing widespread river flooding. Human factors have also, to some extent, worsened the impact of the flooding. As urbanization accelerates, the size of cities in Guangdong continues to expand, and large areas of natural ground have been covered with impermeable materials like concrete and asphalt. This prevents rainwater from seeping into the ground, forcing it to rely solely on drainage systems for discharge. However, many cities still use outdated drainage systems designed with low capacity. When confronted with such intense downpours, these systems fail to cope, leading to severe urban flooding. In rural areas, some regions have pursued short-term economic gain through excessive land development, destroying vegetation and causing serious soil erosion. This reduces the soil's ability to retain water, making rainwater more likely to become surface runoff, which intensifies both the formation and spread of floods. The city's prosperity appears fragile and helpless in the face of the flood. The once orderly urban life has been thrown into chaos, with transportation falling into an unprecedented standstill. Public transportation has ground to a halt, buses, subways, and trains have ceased operation. The streets are flooded and littered with debris. Vehicles struggle to move through the water like crawling snails. Some are completely submerged in the murky floodwaters, with only their rooftops visible, like isolated islands in a vast ocean. City streets have been instantly transformed into raging rivers, carrying debris with powerful currents, posing serious safety hazards for both pedestrians and vehicles. The flood surged into subway stations, underground malls, and stairwells like a rampaging beast. Water levels inside the subway stations rose rapidly. The corridors meant for travel turned into treacherous waterways, trapping panicked passengers inside. In underground malls, merchandise was scattered by the floodwaters. Years of hard work vanished in an instant. Business owners stood helplessly, staring at their devastated shops with tears they couldn't even shed. Even hospital entrances were not spared. Murky water poured in like a waterfall, severely disrupting both medical services and hospital operations. Many patients were trapped inside, unable to receive timely treatment, and their conditions may have worsened as a result. Rural areas have suffered an even more devastating blow, with the extent of the damage truly shocking. The overflowing river surged like an unbridled wild horse, breaking through the constraints of embankments and flooding tens of thousands of acres of farmland. Crops were submerged for days, and once vibrant green fields turned into a vast expanse of water. Months of hard farming effort were wiped out overnight. In some areas, excessive waterlogging has rendered the soil lifeless even after the flood recedes. The ground has hardened and lost its former fertility. Farmers gazed at their ruined fields in despair. A year's worth of labor vanished, and their future livelihoods now hang in uncertainty. Irrigation systems were not spared either, some clogged with silt, obstructing water flow, while others were completely destroyed by the floodwaters, rendering them useless. For agricultural production, this is undoubtedly a case of misfortune upon misfortune. Without the support of irrigation infrastructure, future crop cultivation will face enormous challenges. Grain output may decline sharply, threatening both local food security and farmers' income. The flood not only destroyed farmland but also dealt a devastating blow to rural infrastructure. Power lines snapped under the combined force of fierce winds and floodwaters, while communication towers failed due to prolonged soaking and impact. Entire townships were plunged into darkness from widespread power outages. Transformers were damaged by floodwaters, and backup systems were rendered inoperable due to waterlogging. Rural areas were left in total darkness and eerie silence, with communication to the outside world nearly cut off. Villagers were unable to contact the outside world, receive rescue, or get any timely assistance. Their lives fell into extreme hardship. In terms of transportation, torrential rains washed away mountain roads and rural paths. Frequent landslides sent masses of earth and rocks tumbling down, blocking access to remote communities. Paths that were once rugged but still passable became completely impassable. Vehicles were blocked, and even pedestrians found themselves stranded. Swollen streams even destroyed bridges that had stood for decades. These bridges, once vital links between villages and the outside world, were mercilessly swept away by the floodwaters. As a result, some villages were isolated, completely cut off. Without water, electricity, or supplies, villagers had to survive on limited stored resources, enduring days of hardship before rescue teams finally arrived. In this devastating flood, the affected people are enduring immense pain and pressure. In the cities, many residents are trapped in their homes, without water or electricity, and daily life has become extremely difficult. They rely on stored food and drinking water to survive, and some families are already facing food shortages. Children are unable to attend school and can only study at home through TV or the internet, but unstable internet connections have made learning even more challenging. In rural areas, the situation for disaster victims is even more severe. Many farmers have lost both their homes and their farmland, leaving them in a desperate situation. With no stable source of income, their future is filled with uncertainty. Some elderly people and children have been traumatized by the flood, suffering both physically and psychologically. In temporary shelters, disaster victims are crowded together, and living conditions are extremely harsh. They long for the day they can rebuild their homes and return to a normal life. In response to the severe disaster, authorities acted swiftly, deploying over 1,000 emergency personnel across Guangdong Province. Risking their own safety, they worked around the clock on the front lines of flood control and disaster relief. Helicopters hovered overhead, surveying the flood-stricken areas to provide accurate information for rescue operations. Boats navigated the floodwaters, delivering supplies to isolated families and bringing them a ray of hope. Rescue teams focused on evacuating residents from high-risk areas, relocating them to safety, and draining floodwaters from key infrastructure to help restore normal city operations. To support post-disaster recovery, national and provincial funds were rapidly mobilized, with over 1 billion yuan allocated for repair efforts. The focus was placed on restoring irrigation systems, repairing damaged roads, and supplying food aid to affected villages. Cleanup efforts included large-scale drainage operations, sandbag embankments, and emergency repairs of broken pipelines and damaged levees. Bulldozers worked tirelessly to clear debris from roads, while local volunteers joined the cleanup efforts, helping to clear flooded homes and shops. Their presence became a heartwarming sight amid the disaster zone. Although Guangdong is no stranger to heavy rains, the scale of this flood has far exceeded the capacity of existing systems. Many drainage networks built decades ago were not designed to handle such massive volumes of rainfall. They were overwhelmed by the extreme weather, causing water to backflow rapidly and submerge entire areas in a short amount of time. Now, Guangdong has entered a long and arduous period of reconstruction. Community after community is cleaning out their mud-filled homes. Farmers, with tears in their eyes, assess the damage, while workers race against time to rebuild destroyed roads. Despite the heavy losses, the resilience of the people of Guangdong runs just as deep. They firmly believe that with the collective efforts of all society, they will overcome this disaster and rebuild their beautiful homeland. Thank you for watching DisasterScope, where we uncover the truth behind nature's most extreme moments. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is what keeps this channel going. Hit the notification bell so you never miss any real, calm, and clear reporting. Some footage in this video is for illustrative purposes and may not depict the exact events described. See you next time, stay tuned, and stay safe.